Before an app is released, it needs to be tested. How do you test an app? What needs to be done to ensure effective testing? Hello and welcome. My name is Dale Richards, CEO of App Creative, an app development company on the Silicon Slopes of Utah. We're on a mission to build apps that change the world. If you want to build apps, grow your SaaS business, and make money doing cool software entrepreneur-related stuff, start now by subscribing and hitting the bell. When testing apps, there's not just one kind of test to perform. There are actually several specific types of testing that could and should be conducted over a period of time. So in this video, we outline the different types of testing. So here they are: unit testing, integration, functional testing, end-to-end testing, user acceptance testing, and performance testing. Most of these can be done both manually and with automation. To illustrate these different types of testing, let's use the same test case: a time tracking app that integrates with a payroll system. So in this use case, let's talk about unit testing. So as the name implies, unit testing checks out a specific unit of code. This is a small chunk of code that performs a single function. So for example, let's say that you code the app on your phone to say, record a timestamp for the start time, then to record a timestamp for the end time. A unit test will say, okay, we're going to check to see if the start and end times are formatted in a numerical format like 2021, 12, 23, 15, 32. So basically we've got 12 digits here that reference the year of the timestamp, and then the month, that's the 12, 23 is the day, 15 is the hour, and 32 are the minutes. So basically this is saying that this timestamp was made in the year 2021 on December the 23rd at 3:32 p.m. So what happens is that the unit test says, check to see if there are 12 digits. And if it's anything other than 12 digits, then make the test fail. That's an example of a unit test. Similarly, check to see if the end time is after the start time. If it's anything else, then make the test fail. So those are very small, granular tests that are, at that unit level that we can run. So here we are testing each individual part of the code to make sure each part is able to perform its function to help us prepare to put it all together. So that's a unit test. Okay, next comes integration testing. Now the term integration is used a lot in software development to mean a few different things. So generally, integration refers to bringing together two different levels of architecture, so like front end and back end. To learn more about the application integration, read 5 basics about technology every software entrepreneur needs to know. With integration testing, the code in your backend is going to say to the database, hey, give me all of the time entries for Lisa. And after searching the database, it's going to return all the time entries for Lisa. So the mobile app code says, here is a new time entry for Lisa. Then the backend says to the database, here is a new time entry for Lisa, where the database then records the new time entry. So we're integrating the front end, back end, and the database by passing data from one to the next to the next. The integration test says, hey, check to see if the new time entry from the front end was actually recorded in the database. If it wasn't, then the test should fail. That's an integration test. Functional testing. So with functional testing, you have either Lisa, the real person, or Lisa, the testing bot, record a start timestamp and then record an end timestamp. And after Lisa hits the submit button, Lisa would then open her time entry log and see if all of the new time entry, and see if the new time entry is listed there. The emphasis of functional testing is on the experience of the user. So from a business perspective, was the user able to record the two timestamps? It's different from unit testing in that functional testing tests for business outcomes from the user experience, whereas unit testing tests the code to make sure that it works properly. So that's functional testing. End-to-end testing. Okay, end-to-end testing is about the business process. It's about testing the entire flow of the app to make sure that the process that the app is designed to support can actually be run from start to finish. So in an end-to-end test scenario, let's give an example here. So let's have a scenario where Lisa, she's just hired as a new employee under Sharon. Sharon enters Lisa's new email address into the app to invite Lisa to create an account. After accepting the invitation, Lisa creates her account and logs in, where she records her first time entry and submits it. Sharon then sees Lisa's new time entry, approves it, and then now Lisa is able to see her approved time entry. Then when it's time to run payroll, Sharon sends all the new time entries to payroll. Payroll pulls all of the time entries, generates paychecks, and then the payment is then recorded in Lisa's check history. And finally, Lisa is now able to open her check history and see her payment. So we've gone all the way from time entry to seeing the payment already dispersed. That's end to end. User acceptance testing. Okay, so with user acceptance testing, that's when the customer or the end user accepts the features built by the development team. So in this scenario, Lisa, the real Lisa, is tasked with representing all the hiring managers to the development team. The development team sends each feature to Lisa, and then soon after that, she tests all the new employee and hiring manager features. So she tests inviting new employees to set up their accounts. She tests recording timestamps, approving timestamps, sending the time entries to payroll. Most of the features end up looking great, and Lisa approves those features, accepting them by saying they meet the business requirements. But let's say that during the process that Lisa ends up finding one or two things that are not quite to her satisfaction. At that point, she could then send them back to the development team and negotiate with them on any needed changes. And if the changes are agreed to, then they're made, tested, and then handed back to Lisa for retesting. When all the features pass UAT, the contract between the customer, Lisa, and the development team is closed as fulfilled. So this happens in both client-vendor relationships and also with teams internal to the same organization. Okay, performance testing. Performance testing is about seeing how quickly an app can scale to serve a lot of people at the same time. So here's an example performance test. The team sets up a bot that sends 5,000 new time entries to the server at the same time. Then they measure to see how that load affects response time. It used to involve seeing when the server overloads, but some newer apps are built using what's called serverless architecture or functions as a service. And in that case, performance testing is more about seeing whether the app fully or truly scales as needed without a decrease in performance. So with performance test data, the team then works to optimize response time and scalability. As you probably noticed, performance testing is focused mainly on the behind-the-scene functionality of the app. During app releases, the last thing that you want is for your servers to go down because of too many users. The purpose of performance testing is to ensure fast response times and prevent downtime caused by high load. So looking at all these different types of testing, most of these types can be done in a manual way or in an automated way. The disadvantage, however, of automating these testing types is that it costs money upfront to write the test cases. So if you're bootstrapping and paying for everything yourself as a software entrepreneur, then it might push you beyond your budget. But, here's the but. By not automating these test cases, it really can prove problematic too. So if you rely solely on manual functional testing and skip all of the automated stuff, then every time you make a change to your code, you basically have to retest all of it, or at least part of your app. And that gets expensive, and it gets time consuming. Now granted, automated testing isn't guaranteed, and it will not solve all of your problems. Sometimes you still need to go through your app by hand and make sure that it's working the way it's supposed to. But automating your testing can really provide a lot of flexibility and scalability. All these different tests build on each other. And testing is a major key in developing your app. How well you test, how thoroughly you test your app will show through your customer feedback and satisfaction. The money and time spent on testing will greatly improve the quality of your app and will be worth it in the long run. So, if you'd like to learn more, try reading this article, Understanding the App Development Timeline. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time here on App Creative.